Hello everyone, today we're going to be covering the Shadow Trace Tracker room. It's a premium room, and in this room we're going to be analyzing a suspicious file, uncovering hidden clues, and tracing the source of the infection. My name is Joshua Speechshark. I'm a cybersecurity analyst and Blue Team content creator. So let's get started with the room. Alright, task 1, scenario. It's the middle of the night shift. You're the only analyst in the SOC when a manager calls in urgently. A suspicious file was found on a user's machine and needs a immediate review. You open the file and start digging. Something doesn't look normal for a company update, and at the same time, the EDR throws a couple of alerts. If you don't know what EDR is, don't worry, it stands for Endpoint Detection and Response. And for more information regarding it, duplicate tab. Could you please explain more what an EDR is? Yes. EDR stands for Endpoint Detection and Response. It is an advanced cybersecurity technology designed to continuously monitor individual devices, like laptops, desktops, and servers, or endpoints, to detect, investigate, and automatically respond to cyber threats. For instance, if a standard antivirus AV is like a locked front door, an EDR is like a smart security camera system with a built-in security guard inside the house. And this is how EDR differs from traditional antivirus. EDR focuses on behavior. And the 4 core functions of an EDR are continuous monitoring, behavioral detection, incident investigation, automated response. And also here's some leading EDR solutions in the industry as well. And hopefully that helps you better understand what an EDR is, and some examples, and some really important core features, functions of an EDR as well. Awesome. Alright. Our task is to analyze the file, collect anything to identify it, gather any potential IOCs, correlate and analyze the alerts for potential malicious behavior. It's up to you to piece together what's happening before it spreads further. And here's our learning objectives. We're going to extract IOCs from suspicious binaries. We're going to correlate alerts with malicious activity. And we're going to perform basic SOC, the Clothing Security Operations Center triage actions. Also, here are some prerequisites as well. So if you wanted to learn more about these rooms, you can click here. In malware classification. There's an intro to malware analysis, malware introductory, and malware classification. I highly recommend checking out these rooms because it's going to help you, provide you a foundational and overall fundamental understanding of malware, such as learning how to identify, classify, and understand common types of malware. Much more pertaining to malware analysis, and also an intro to malware analysis as well. Additionally, I've ran this prompt right here, so that way I can showcase to you some important concepts associated with malware analysis. So if you wanted to understand what the prompt is, it starts with, please explain foundational and fundamental concepts associated with malware analysis, such as static and dynamic analysis in a clear and concise way. I'm going to break this down. So what this first part does is that it breaks down what is malware analysis and divides the analysis and overall concepts into static analysis, such as, for example, here's static analysis. Static analysis involves examining a malware sample without running it. It is the safest way to begin an investigation because it eliminates the risk of infecting the analysis environment. Here's some core concepts associated with static analysis, such as fingerprinting, metadata extraction, string analysis, disassembly and decompilation. Dynamic analysis, same thing. It provides a really beneficial description, and then it goes into the core concepts. And also for the next part, so after this part, the prompt that I created was after that, could you please note important tools for each of the concepts in a table format? So after explaining the foundational and fundamental concepts associated with malware analysis, such as static and dynamic analysis, the AI, or Google in this case, breaks down the important tools for each of the concepts in table format. So what this does is that it creates a table with the columns analysis type, tool category, tool name, and key functionality. And you have your rows like static. You have your hash and metadata like tool name and key functionality. String extraction, same thing, tool name, Static, Ghidra ID Pro. For dynamic, this is where you talk about like the tool category, like system monitoring. Network analysis, you have Wireshark. Network simulation, you have InitSim. For an automated sandbox, you have like Cuckoo Sandbox or Keep. And for memory forensics, you have Volatility as well. All right, finally, here's the third part of my prompt that I created. Was that finally, using this information, please provide an example walkthrough or playbook on how to conduct malware analysis step by step. So what this final piece of the prompt that I created does is that it creates a playbook overall walkthrough that you can use, such as, for example, a step-by-step malware analysis playbook. This standard operating procedure ensures a safe, thorough investigation of an unknown file. So, for example, you have phase 1 environment, phase 2 static, phase 3 dynamic, phase 4 reporting. And then it goes into depth about each of the phases. So, for example, like phase 1, you have environment set up in isolation, isolate the lab for safety purposes, take a snapshot. That's really important. And disable security controls. After that, you move on to phase 2, which describes basic static analysis, such as generating hashes, checking for packers, and extracting strings. Last but not least, you have phase 3, which is basic dynamic analysis, where you set up monitoring, you execute the sample, and you observe behavioral changes, and then you stop and dump, take a memory dump. And then you have phase 4 finally, which is reporting and remediation, such as documenting indicators of compromise, cleaning the lab, and applying defense. And also I can break this down even further if I wanted to. So for example, would you like to explore advanced static analysis techniques, such as how to unpack a file using a debugger? I can do that as well. But generally, here's really great phases to understand, such as reporting and remediation. Phase 3, basic dynamic analysis. Phase 2, basic static analysis. And phase 1, environment setup and isolation. And step-by-step malware analysis playbooks overall. These phases will help you get a general understanding of how to conduct malware analysis safely and overall effectively. Then before that, I describe really like important tools to understand for both static and dynamic analysis and their key functionality as well. And then first part of the prompt, the AI describes like core concepts of dynamic analysis and defines it. And also for static analysis, it defines core concepts and defines static analysis as well. So hopefully this prompt helps you better understand the foundational and fundamental concepts associated with malware analysis, but also tools to help you better understand how to use each one for both static and dynamic analysis. And finally, example walkthrough a playbook that you can follow step by step to conduct malware analysis safely but effectively. Awesome. All right, now follow the instructions for the next tasks to start. So let's click here to start the challenge. Awesome. Let's go my settings, audio. We're good. Yes, this is gonna be fun. All right, task 2, file analysis. To successfully complete this room, you'll need to set up your virtual environment. This involves starting the lab machine, ensuring you're equipped with the necessary tools and access to tackle the challenges ahead. So let's do that. Let's start the lab machine. And it's going to start up on the right. And we're going to analyze the binary located in C users, DFI user, desktop windows-update.exe in the attached machine right here. And then we're going to answer the questions below. Awesome. Then we're going to start the lab by clicking the Start Lab Machine button, which we have done. It will take around 2 minutes to load properly, and the VM will be accessible on the right side of the split screen, which we can see here. And then we can use or find several tools installed in the machine that can help you with any kind of analysis under C users, DFI user, DFI tools. And since we talked about tools, here's the prompt that I created right here. And also some of the tools that we're going to use and explore in the room are PEView, Detected Easy, Bachman, and much more. But also there's a really another helpful website that I want to describe. Could you, right. So do that. Let me show you guys the really helpful website. It is Cybersecurity Tools. It's just a really great way to help you better understand products, companies, and overall free open source tools in one place. It's constantly being updated and maintained. Like, for example, you can browse like 8,500 cybersecurity solutions with 69,000 security professionals searching monthly. So it's a very comprehensive database to help you understand and find more information about cybersecurity tools, products, and companies all in one place. And I highly recommend bookmarking it. And it's completely free to use. And the URL can be found here. Awesome. Alright, so the way to use it, for example, is that we're going to search for malware analysis. We're going to hit enter. We're going to filter by category. And here, we are searching for tools associated with malware analysis, such as x64gbg, and Tesla, and also companies, etc. So we see George Sandbox, filescan.io for file analysis, the zoo for malware analysis results, repositories. Also, there's the next page, I believe. Yes, there is. And I believe Flare VM is going to be here. Awesome. We got Kappa, Kuku Sandbox, RecDet, Yar Forensics. There's a really great website to help you get an overall understanding of malware analysis tools. But if you want a more thorough understanding of malware analysis tools, I can ask that. Could you please give a more thorough and in-depth listing of both static and dynamic analysis tools associated with malware analysis? What also can you describe in a clear and concise manner on how to conduct analysis with each step by step in a playbook or workflow. Workflow, there we go. Workflow manner. Nice. All right. More tools detected easy, such as PE Studio, obfuscated string extraction. I believe this is for static analysis. Yes, it is. PE Header, Architecture, CF Explorer, PE View, Ydra, IDE Pro, Binary Ninja. Awesome. Yara. Who can't go wrong, Yara? I believe these are static analysis tools. Yes. Advanced static analysis tools. In dynamic analysis tools, we have Boston Monitor, Hacker, Wireshark, and much, much more. Like I said, it provides a walkthrough as well, such as lab isolation and baseline configuration, static triaging, advanced static code dissection, and basic dynamic and behavioral monitoring, and then advanced dynamic interception, debugging, and memory, and then phase 6, threat documentation and defenses. Now, your malware analysis may be different, but hopefully this provides you a more thorough and overall in-depth understanding of more tools, and overall another example of a walkthrough to help you better understand foundational fundamental concepts associated with malware analysis, such as, for example, like static and dynamic analysis, and also an example workflow and playbook to help you as well. Awesome. Here's some really great tools like PE Studio, Floss, CF Explorer, Yara for advanced static analysis or static analysis in general. And then for dynamic, we have Wireshark, InitSim, x64gbg, volatility, and much, much more. Awesome. All right, cool. Now, let's move on. I said no. Hey, why are you doing it? Okay. What is the architecture? So let's do it. Restart the connection. All right, come alive. Yes, technology works. All All right, so let's use the tools to conduct file analysis, which we're going to do in test 2. So in this case, we're going to be conducting static analysis. So let's use one of the tools. Let's go to DFAR tools. Let's click on it. We see PE Studio. And let's click on it. Advanced, open, run as administrator. Yes. And since I talked about PE Studio and tools, this is going to fall under static analysis. That's EDR. Hopefully that helps you understand EDR. Yes. PE Studio, it flags suspicious API imports, anomalies in PE headers, and missing security integrations. But if you wanted to understand PE Studio by itself, we can do that. So PE Studio, not AI mode. Oh yes. PE Studio is a free portable Windows application used for static analysis and initial triage of portable executable or PE files. In security analysis, use it to inspect suspicious binaries and detect various malicious indicators such as blacklisted APIs, embedded strings, and high entropy safely without executing the code. So we can go here to learn about the GitHub. I believe there's also, yes, there's also Varis. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. An overview, tutorial, and tips. And what is Varis total as well. So overall, if you wanted to learn more about PE Studio, the tool, here's the GitHub for it. All credit goes to the author. And also here's an overview and overall setup tutorial and tips as well. But just in general, understand that PE Studio is a free portable Windows tool used for the static analysis, initial triage of suspicious executable files, portable executable or PE formats, and allows security analysts to inspect the internal structure, properties, and potential malicious capabilities of a file of executing it, ensuring a safe environment. And also here are some key uses and features, and also some helpful links as well. Awesome. So we're going to use PE Studio to conduct static analysis. So let's do that. All right, we got our file, and it's going to be windows-update.exe. I believe it's going to be here. No, Wireshark. Where is, okay, desktop. There's our binary that we're going to analyze. Okay, cool. Now we got it. Awesome. And hopefully if I do view in full screen, it shows PE Studio. Awesome. All right. First question. What is the architecture of the binary file windows-update.exe? So let's go to PE Studio. Let's try to find the architecture. I see that for file type, it lists executable and 64-bit console. So let's see if 64-bit is our answer. So let's do that. 64-bit. Awesome. Next. What is the hash SHA-256 in this case of the file windows-update.exe? So let's go look for the hash. And I see, yes, file SHA-256. It's going to be this very long hash. So if I believe I can double click it, it's going to show me the value. Or it's going to close itself. Interesting. All right, open Windows-update. So I'm going to copy the SHA-256 hash, and that's going to be our answer. So I'm going to copy the value and paste. Awesome. All right, identify the URL within the file to use it as an IOC. What is an IOC? It stands for indicators of compromise. And for more information regarding it, let me use this one. And second thought, let me just create a new tab. right? AI mode. Could you please define what an IOC is pertaining to cybersecurity? Provide examples of IOCs and describe the importance of understanding what is an IOC as well. All right, so to break down the prompt that I used, could you please define what an IOC is pertaining to cybersecurity, provide examples of IOCs, and describe the importance of understanding what an IOC is as well? So, first off, an indicator of compromise is digital evidence that a cyber attack or security breach has occurred on a network or system. Think of it as digital forensic evidence, similar to fingerprints left at a physical crime scene. And here's some common examples of IOCs, such as malicious IP addresses, unusual URL domain traffic, unexplained registry changes, abnormal account behavior, unknown file hashes, high outbound traffic, and irregular system file changes. And finally, why is it important to understand IOCs? Recognizing and tracking IOCs is vital for keeping an organization secure, such as it speeds up incident response, improves automated detection, enables threat hunting, and also facilitates threat intelligence sharing as well. And we can also help you dive deeper into this topic if you like, such as providing a real-world scenario showing how an IOC is tracked, explain the difference between IOCs and IOAs, and recommend free threat intelligence feeds to find active IOCs. So if you wanted to go even deeper into understanding an IOC, I highly recommend using these prompts right here to help you better understand IOCs. And just overall, to get from this, an IOC stands for indicator of compromise. And overall, you can understand it as like digital forensic evidence, which is similar to fingerprints left at a physical crime scene. And what it does is that it provides evidence that a cyber attack or security breach has occurred on a network or system. And here's some examples as well. And understanding IOCs is crucial. But again, we also have the option to go even deeper into understanding IOCs with these prompts. Sweet. All right. Moving on to answering the question, identifying the URL within the file to use it as an IOC. So let's still use PE Studio. Let's try to find the IOC. So since IOC stands for indicators of compromise, let's look at the indicators tab. And we can see here, we got a string URL pattern, http TryHackMe.com update security-update.exe. This must be where our security-update.exe binary was downloaded from. So let's copy this detail or indicator. I think, never mind. Indicator is string URL pattern detail. So we copy detail to get the value. Let me put it here. Nice. All right. With the URL identified, can you spot a domain that can be used as an IOC? So now we got the TryHackMe.com URL. We also got some resources, some footprints. So let's go look into the file itself. All right. So to do this, let's open up PowerShell. So power. Awesome. All right, we got PowerShell. Then open as administrator. Yes. And I'm going to show you guys a really helpful command to help you better understand overall how to get this answer. So I'm going to help you guys better understand strings. So I believe it's going to be strings. I believe it is that. All right. What strings does is it allows us to search for ANSI in Unicode strings in binary images. So we can also go to sysinternals.com to learn more about what strings is. So for example, if you wanted to learn more about strings, sysinternals. Yes. So what strings does is that it scans the file you pass in it for Unicode or ASCII strings of a default length of 3 or more Unicode characters. It takes wildcard expressions from file names and initial command line parameters are defined as follows. So overall, if you wanted more information about a file, strings does that, and overall, it's a really great command to understand. If we do AI mode as well, yeah. Strings is a command line utility by sysinternals that scans binary images or files to search for and extract ANSI and Unicode text strings or words, and it helps developers and analysis inspect compiled binaries for embedded messages, URLs, or internal paths that standard text tools might miss. And also here's the core features, common command options as well. And if you wanted to learn more about the tool, here is the GitHub repo for it. What it does is that it extracts strings from binary files in process memory, AI mode, and string internals, the website as well. So if I open link, here it is. So we're going to use strings to help us better understand more information and overall search for and extract ANSI and Unicode text strings. So the way in which to do that in our case is we're going to go to cd. So let me just do DFR. Let me just do dir dir. Okay. I've seen this before where PowerShell does not want to cooperate, so let me just use command prompt. And then alright, C user, DFR user, dir. Alright. Command prompt wants to cooperate. Awesome. dir. Alright, and then we're gonna go to cd dfir tools dir, so that we understand what's in the directory, and then we're going to use dfire. Oh, never mind, we're going to go to desktop. Cd back, cd desktop, because that's where our binary is. So in order to use the command, we need to let it know, hey, what file are we going to analyze? So in this case, we're going to analyze the windows.update.exe in this case. So we're going to use strings, windows.update.exe, and then find string dash TryHackMe, because we saw in the previous question, we saw that in the URL as one of the domains. So we want to learn more about that. So let's use this. And we got another domain, responses.tryhackme.com. So let's see if that's our answer. Yes, we found a domain, responses.tryhackme.com. Nice. All right. Next, input the coded flag from the suspicious domain. So here we see a suspicious value. So let's copy this. So let's copy this and use the really great tool called CyberChef. So let's go use CyberChef. Hopefully we have never connecting to use CyberChef. If we don't, which in this case I don't think we do, let's go use CyberChef. And let's put in our value we got here. And a helpful feature in operation associated with CyberChef is magic. So what magic does, let me show you it. Magic, the magic operation attempts to detect various properties of input, which we have here, data, and suggest which operations could help to make more sense of it. So we're going to put magic in recipe. And what it does is that it allows us to view different types of recipes, like base64, so that way we can convert our output into something correct. So let's use from base64 because it has the equal sign, and we got our output in flag. THM, you got some IOCs, friend. Nice. So let's copy that and paste. Got IOCs. We got a domain. We got domains and a URL. Nice. And hashes. We're doing static analysis. Sweet. All right. What library related to socket communication is loaded by the binary? So in this case, we want to learn more about a library related to socket communication associated with the binary windows-update.security. Yeah, windows-update.exe. So let's go back to PE Studio and look for a library related to socket communication. I see libraries. I see ws2 underscore 32.dll, urlmon.dll, and winInit.dll. So let me see. We got a socket library. And since we're talking about sockets, what library related to socket communication is loaded by the binary? I see one that is associated with the Windows socket library, which is ws2 underscore 32.dll. So let's try that as our answer. So ws, I believe it was ws2-32.dll. Awesome. All right, next, alerts analysis. Click on the view site button attached to the task to display the static site in split view. Review the alternatives and answer the questions below. Alternatively, if you cannot see all the columns in split view, you can open the static site in full screen by clicking the link below. So let's see if this works first. Yeah, I think interactive is going to look best in a static screen. Oh, yeah. Another screen. All right, let me exit split view to make it easier to see the questions. All right, let's answer some questions. Can you identify the malicious URL from the trigger by the process PowerShell.exe? So let's go to our interactive exercise. Let me see suspicious PowerShell execution, our rule, severity, command, and time. So we see here that we're looking for a malicious URL from the trigger by the process PowerShell.exe. And here we see a base64 string. Let's see what this is. So let's take this and let's use CyberChef to decode it. I believe I have CyberChef right here. Nice. So let me clear the input and output. Let me put this as the input. And let me use magic to see if this is base64. And it is. Awesome. And we got tryhackme.com-dev/main.exe. Let's see if that's our answer. So we're going to copy this. Paste it. Awesome. Next, can you identify the malicious URL from the alert triggered by chrome.exe? So now we're going to look at the suspicious browser download rule, an overall alert to help us do our analysis. So pertaining to this rule and alert with this information, we are going to identify the malicious URL from the alert triggered by chrome.exe. So in this, I see that there is these, and it says that it is char code I don't see any base 64, but since we have data to work with, let's see what this is when we decode it with CyberChef. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to clear the input and output. And clear the recipe. Remove the brackets. And let me use magic. And I see we got from decimal, commas. Okay, so let's use that. Nice. And we get a URL, https really secure update.tryhackme.com/update.exe. So let's see if this is our answer. Can you identify the malicious URL from the alert triggered by chrome.exe? Let's see if this is. Awesome. All right, finally, what's the name of the file saved in the alert triggered by chrome.exe? So let's go back to our alert. And we see a download. So that means that a file was downloaded from a URL a.href. Yeah, we see a URL mentioned. So this means that a file must have been downloaded or saved in the alert. So we got a host, suspicious browser download. So pertaining to this command, there must have been a file that was downloaded that was suspicious. So let's see if test.txt is that file. So we're going to see test.txt. Nice. That's awesome. All right, great work, me. Room completed. Your skills are skyrocketing. What positive enthusiasm. Our completed tasks, points earned, and streak. And also, here is how you would share it on your social medias as well. And yes, I want to keep going. Open browser for research. Methodical HTTP probing. And echo as well. Insert a streak. Let's go. Yes. Consistency is key in having fun. We had fun in this room. All right, so let's go back. Let me terminate the lab machine. Terminate the lab machine. Let me do that right here. Terminate. Let me close the alternate site. Awesome. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed my walkthrough of the Shadow Trace TryHackMe.com room. We analyzed a suspicious file, we uncovered hidden clues, and traced the source of the infection. And here was the tasks that we did. And also here are some helpful resources such as Intro to Malware Analysis, Malware Introductory, Malware Classification, some really helpful prompts to help you better understand malware analysis concepts, workflow, and tools. So here's one that I used. You can take a screenshot of this and overall use it for helpful understanding of concepts, tools, and workflows. Another really helpful prompt as well, right here. A really great resource that I recommend is CyberSec Tools. And you can type malware analysis to search for malware analysis concepts, tools, vendors, etc. And it will show you those here. And also you can click on the first page to view the results as well. This is an overall really helpful resource that I recommend. BE Studio to understand the static analysis tool that we used for test 2. And a better understanding of the indicator of compromise, an overall concept. And here is the helpful prompt that I used, right here. And other really helpful links. And also a really helpful prompt to help you understand strings, sysinternal as well. I just did AI mode to helpfully understand strings. So that's how you would do it. Command flags and parameter switches, practical examples. Yeah, strings is awesome. Highly recommend it. GitHub. And who can't go wrong with CyberChef is just a really fun and really cool tool to use. So, like I said, hopefully you enjoyed my walkthrough of the Shadow Trace room. I will see you guys in the next walkthrough. Have a great day and keep up the great work. Peace.